Πάμε λοιπόν στο επόμενο session. Adaptability in an ever-changing environment of global shipping. Ο chairman, Dr. Γιώργος Πατέρας. Καλούνται και οι ομιλητές, ο κύριος Αντώνης Φαράκλας, Mr. Donald Macmillan, καθηγήτρια κυρία Βικτόρια Θανασοπούλου, Κώστας Κωνσταντίνου, Έλενα Θουσάκη, καθηγητής Ορέστης Σχοινάς. Discussant. Κύριε Ξηραδάκη, παρακαλώ. Στη θέση μας, παρακαλώ.
Κύριος Φαράκλας πρώτα, μετά ο κύριος Μακμίλαν, Ασόπουλος, Κωνσταντίνου. Good afternoon. We have 11 minutes to finish this panel. I'm going for lunch. To avoid wasting time, the introductions of each person on the panel will be very brief. And again, for the avoidance of wasting time, it will be the same question to each one of the panelists. In your particular sector of the business, in what you're involved in, let us know, this is question number one, what do you believe have been the changes that you've seen over your lifetime of work that have helped our business remain sustainable? So I start with Andonis Faraklas, who is the director of Shipping Hub of the Kolakis Group, an engineer by education, and a person who knows everything about shipping. Mr. Faraklas, please.
Ευχαριστώ το Πανεπιστήμιο για την τιμή που μου κάνει να παρευρεθώ στη συγκεκριμένο ηλιακό ΣΥΠ. Ναι, τώρα ακούγομαι καλύτερα, πιστεύω. Ευχαριστώ το Πανεπιστήμιο για την τιμή που μου έκανε να παρευρεθώ σε αυτό το summit και είμαι ιδιαίτερα συγκινημένος διότι γίνεται στοιχείο εδώ που μεγάλωσα και ξεκίνησα. Εγώ θα ξεκινήσω την ιστορία από εκεί που το 1980, μιλήσω ελληνικά, αν χρειαστεί. I will start from where I started in 1980. How was shipping in 1980 and how is today? At that time, At that time, Greek shipping was totally different to what it is today. It was mostly old ships, second-hand ships, and today's Greek shipping is a piece of art. Every new building which is ordered in the Far East, I don't know what is the percentage, but I believe it's more than 50-60% Greek. I will start some milestones of our period from 1980 until today. When I started in 80, we had the crisis of 85, which hardly the ships were making any running cost. So we had 700 ships, more than 700 ships at the time, laid up in LFCs. When they were reactivated, because of the lack of maintenance due to the previous crisis, had a lot of accidents, unfortunately. So at that time, insurances walked in, and we have these vertical audits. Ships were obliged to be reinforced. It was the time of the IGS which was introduced. It was the time of the disaster of the Exxon Valdez. which was the reason which the Americans introduced the OPA with all the precautions in shipping. In the 1990s, we have the introduction of ISM, which was very new to us. And we had a lot of discussions, what is going to be the implications of the 1990 in our operation, lawyers will come in our operation, what are going to be the problems, etc., etc. The shipping worked, overcame it. And in fact, we came before the ones which they were believing we were not going to cope with. Then it came the 2011, which happened in the disaster in the States, which is it was introduced the ISPS. Then we came to the COVID. Shipping has always overcame all the problems which has been faced and challenged. So I believe that the adaptability of shipping is the big advantage of it. And I believe that it won't stop it now with the challenge of decarbonization. Sooner or later, we will find a solution, and I'm optimistic about it, that we'll face the decarbonization and the European regulations which are imposing to us from the 1st of January successfully. And especially, I have a great belief that the Greek shipping will take advantage of these regulations to be on top of the competitors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andoni. Our second speaker is Donald McMillan, who's worked in a plethora of different companies within the shipping industry, from BP to even being a math teacher, Star Tankers, Klesch, Ellison, and Penfield Marine. So somebody who's got vast knowledge of many parts of our business. Lisa, what do you believe has changed since you started working?
Hi. I don't speak any Greek at all, but I wish I'd seen the last bit because it sounded fantastic. I want to talk a little bit about ships. If I can make this go forward. There we are. It's a vessel called the Danita. She was around the 1990s. We traded this vessel. So people put a lot of thought into her. She was double skinned, which was unusual at the time. She was going to trade clean and dirty, but she was going to go into the Panamax trade. So she was Panamax beam and she was 750 feet LOA. But because they wanted to do clean, they put as many cubic meters of capacity as they possibly could on her. So she was quite a big ship. Bunkers were very expensive, so there was a big drive on the other side of the table to try and save bunkers. So they had a lot of looks at the engine, and the engine was very, very economical. The problem was she was very economical as an engine, but she was probably a little bit small for the ship. So the ship had masses of uses. In heavy seas in the North Atlantic, she was absolutely hopeless. Compare her to the Pelagos. The Pelagos was owned by Ellison, designed about the same sort of time, but it was very, very simple. And she was 750 foot LOA. She was going to trade dirty only, so there was no worries about cubic capacity. There was a lot of conversations between the operations department and the design department, so they ended up with a ship which had a bigger engine than it probably needed, but she didn't slow down at all. She was very, very tradable. The point I'm trying to make is that adaptation and innovation are wonderful, and it does help. It's going forward all the time. But as a commercial person, and I'm only a commercial person, at some point, ultimately, we have to make money. EcoSpeed, this is just another example. I'm going to spoil everybody's day because to me, EcoSpeed is a different meaning to other people. This is a voyage calculation. I won't go into the depths of it. I don't need to. This calculation is about a voyage between Houston and Rotterdam for an Aframax tanker. It's about today's market level at World Scale 80. I don't need to explain that. That's just a level. Currently, that makes about $21,000 a day after port costs and bunkers. which is a nice number, really. I've run that calculation at 13.5 knots. And as you've heard earlier in the day, I look at the same calculation, exactly the same calculation, and I now do the laden voyage at 12 knots. I'm making $23,000 a day. And I'm on 2 extra days. I'm doing 24 days rather than 2. Same voyage, but now look at a different market level, a much better market level, one similar to earlier in the year, where the earnings per day is the same 12 knots a day. The earnings per day are now $65,000 a day, which is great. And I'm at this nice slow speed of 12 knots. But just as a comparison, same rate, same voyage. If I speed the ship back up again, I'm making $67,500 a day. 2 days shorter, so I'm back into the market again. What's my point? My point is market conditions affect perspective. I know there's lots of things that we would like to do. There's lots of things that we should be doing. But market perspective, whether the ship owner is going to make money or the ship owner is not going to make money, can make him keener or more reluctant to do the changes that perhaps we would like. I've got a couple of ships here laden to the gunwales with whatever booty they're actually carrying, and they're heading towards the same discharge port. We know nothing more about them, so I'll give you a little bit of information. Black Pearl, she's due tomorrow, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She's got a demurrage rate on her, which is the rate that the person who's going to take that ship will pay if she has to wait, $24,500 a day. Alternatively, I've got the Red Ruby. She's 3 hours later. She's got a slightly higher demurrage rate. Here I have the oil company. His consideration, if he knows this information, he might ask Black Pearl to wait so that he can take the Red Ruby in and save him some money. Here's the ship owner. If I'm the ship owner, I might want to be the Red Ruby. I might want to think, well, okay, if I can get myself in and out quickly, I might be in time for my next cargo. So I might want to speed my ship up so I can get in ahead. The other ship owner, he might be thinking, well, the market's currently $16,500 or $16,000 a day. I might want my demurrage rate, so I might want to slow it down so that the Ruby gets in front of me. What's my point? Good market information allows better decisions. I think it's very important that we listen to the market. The market is not just one thing. The market's now and the market's longer term. We're going to make decisions. We need good market information. My other question would be, what if it was the same owner that had both ships? This is the company I work for, Penfield Marine. These are the two guys I work for. The guy on the right, he's a loud, large, obnoxious American. He's probably the best chartering man, without exceptions, that I know of. One on the left is a different side of the same coin. He's a quiet, relaxed, more mundane, but very, very bright CEO of the company. Between them and the little organization they have, they're running a fleet of Panamax, Aframax, Suezmax tankers, 77 of them. The ratio is about 2 to 1, but that doesn't really matter. The most important part is they're doing it for 30 different pool partners, Greeks, Chinamen, Germans, all over the place. But they're all working together through one thing. And my point here, coming very, very quickly towards the end, working together makes more money. We get better information, we have better cash flow. We have the ability to give our customers better flexibility, which gives us more optionality. And there's a degree of security for our pool partners being part of a bigger unit. My last comment, which is to reflect on today, is working together. Academia and business should walk in step. This fantastic summit that you're having today, I noticed it said dialogue between academia. I hope that next year it's changed that to a continuing dialogue between academia and business. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I think slow steaming that was suggested earlier was not for commercial reasons, but for the saving of CO2 or reducing of emissions. So our next speaker is Professor Victoria Athanasopoulou. and she's a professor at the Department of Shipping and Trade at the University of Aegean. She's at home, and you all already know her. So to save time, please your presentation. Thank you very much.
Ευχαριστώ τον κύριο Πατέρα. Επιτρέψατε μου να μιλήσω στα ελληνικά, διότι θα ήθελα να παρουσιάσω, και αυτή είναι η μεγάλη αλλαγή που συνέβη στα χρόνια μου, να παρουσιάσω τον ελληνικό νόμο, τον κώδικα ιδιωτικού ναυτικού δικαίου, τον νέο κώδικα ιδιωτικού ναυτικού δικαίου, είναι ο νόμος 5020 του 2023. Είχα τη μεγάλη τιμή αλλά και τη χαρά να είμαι μέλος της Νομοπαρασκευαστικής Επιτροπής. Η κυρία Πέπα που βλέπω εδώ ήταν επίσης μέλος της Νομοπαρασκευαστικής Επιτροπής και δραστηριό και γνωρίζει πάρα πολύ καλά τον άθλο που έγινε προκειμένου να φέρουμε εις πέρας ένα τεράστιο κώδικα ιδιωτικού ναυτικού δικαίου σε 2 χρόνια. Βέβαια αυτό έγινε χάρη στην εξαιρετική προεδρία της κυρίας Λίας Αθανασίου, την οποία οφείλουμε αυτή τη στιγμή να αναφέρουμε. Με την μπαγκέτα της κυρίας Αθανασίου οργανώθηκε όλη η Νομοπαρασκευαστική Επιτροπή που αποτελείται από καθηγητές, από δικηγόρους της πράξης, από υψηλόβαθμα στελέχη του Υπουργείου Ναυτιλίας και από στελέχη της ναυτικής βιομηχανίας. Επίσης, εκπροσωπήθηκε και η Ένωση Ελλήνων Εφοπλιστών και ήρθε το αποτέλεσμα αυτό το οποίο θα δούμε πάρα πολύ σύντομα αυτή τη στιγμή. Πριν όμως μιλήσω για τον κώδικα ιδιωτικού ναυτικού δικαίου, θα ήθελα να κάνω 2 επισημάνσεις. Και μάλιστα είναι επισημάνσεις τις οποίες σκεφτόμουν κατά τη διάρκεια που άκουγα τον απολαυστικότατο και νεανικότατο κύριο Παλιό. Πρώτα θέλω να πω ότι η ναυτιλία δημιουργεί νόμους. Αυτό το γνωρίζουμε. Θα μου πείτε lex maritima. Η ναυτιλία είναι αυτή η οποία πρώτα δημιουργεί τους νόμους και πολύ αργότερα έρχεται ο νομοθέτης και τους θεσμοθετεί. Ένας Γερμανός καθηγητής από το Αμβούργο, ο Hans Wüstendaeffer, έλεγε ότι ο νομοθέτης ξυπνά μετά τη δύση του ηλίου. Η ναυτιλία θέτει τους κανόνες δικαίου. Όμως θα ήθελα να πάω λίγο παραπέρα. Δεν θέτει η ναυτιλία μόνο τους κανόνες του ναυτικού δικαίου. Στους θεσμούς του ναυτικού δικαίου από αρχαιοτάτων χρόνων βρίσκουμε το σπέρμα όλων των θεσμών του εμπορικού δικαίου. Η θαλάσσια ασφάλιση δημιουργήθηκε πρώτα από την ναυτιλία. Τώρα ασφαλίζουμε, έχουμε ιδιωτική ασφάλιση. Όμως η ναυτιλία δημιούργησε πρώτα αυτή την ιδιωτική ασφάλιση. Επίσης, ο θεσμός της συλλογικής ευθύνης, ο θεσμός του διαχωρισμού της ευθύνης και του διαχωρισμού των περιουσιών, της θαλάσσιας περιουσίας και της περιουσίας του πλειοκτήτη στην ξηρά, είναι αυτοί οι οποίοι θεσμοί δημιούργησαν όλο αυτό που λέμε εμπορικό δίκαιο, εταιρικό δίκαιο, και θυμούμε, και πάλι το θυμήθηκα σε σχέση με την ομιλία του κυρίου Παλιού, ένα άρθρο ενός Γάλλου καθηγητή του Σαντέ, ο οποίος λέει «La mer comme mère du droit». Η θάλασσα σαν μητέρα του δικαίου. Σας παραπέμπω σε αυτό το άρθρο, διότι με εξαιρετικά γλαφυρό τρόπο, βέβαια είναι ένα άρθρο του 1964 στο DMF, αλλά με εξαιρετικά γλαφυρό τρόπο εξηγεί το πώς η θάλασσα δημιουργεί όλους τους κανόνες του δικαίου. Θα ήθελα τώρα πολύ γρήγορα να διέλθω το νέο νόμο. Καταρχάς, κώδικας. Γιατί κώδικας ιδιωτικού ναυτικού δικαίου? Τι σημαίνει κώδικας? Κώδικας είναι ένα σύνολο άρθρων. Είναι ένα οργανικό σύνολο που έχει συνεκτικό ιστό κατά τέτοιο τρόπο ώστε να δημιουργεί θεμέλια για να διαμορφώνει όλο αυτό το οικοδόμημα του ναυτικού δικαίου. Γιατί το ναυτικό δίκαιο δεν μπορούμε να το περιλάβουμε, και το ξέρετε, σε 290 άρθρα. Δεν είναι μόνο 290 άρθρα. Άρα τι είναι ο κώδικας? Ο κώδικας είναι οι θεμελιώδεις εκείνοι κανόνες που διέπουν όλο το ναυτικό δίκαιο και χάρη στο οργανικό σύνολο που έχουν δημιουργήσει μπορούμε να προσαρμόσουμε τις νέες διατάξεις σε αυτή τη συνεχή εξέλιξη της ναυτιλίας, την οποία ζήσαμε πάρα πολύ και με την ομιλία του κυρίου Παλιού, αλλά και με όλες τις ομιλίες. Ας διέλθω λοιπόν πολύ σύντομα, πάρα πολύ σύντομα, σας το υπόσχομαι, το νέο νόμο. Εδώ είναι το σύνολο κώδικας ιδιωτικού ναυτικού δικαίου και κώδικας δημοσίου δικαίου. Ο προηγούμενος νόμος, ο προισχύσας νόμος, είναι ένας νόμος του 1958, 65 χρόνια είχε παραμείνει σε πλήρη αχρησία. Από τα 293 άρθρα ήταν ενισχύ μόνο τα 63, όλα τα υπόλοιπα είχαν περιπέσει σε αχρησία, διότι υπήρχαν διεθνείς συμβάσεις, κάποια άρθρα ήταν ατελή, υπήρχαν πολλά κενά. Έχουμε λοιπόν το καινούριο νόμο. Όπως σας είπα, δημιουργούμε τα θεμέλια, τα νομικά θεμέλια, άρα το πρώτο νομικό θεμέλιο είναι η νομική έννοια του πλοίου. Γιατί γύρω από το πλοίο περιεβάλλεται όλη η νομοθεσία. Επομένως, εδώ έχουμε μια διεύρυνση της έννοιας του πλοίου. Το πλοίο πλέον απελευθερώνεται από τα τεχνικά χαρακτηριστικά που το περιόριζαν στον προηγούμενο κίνδ, και έχουμε και την έννοια του στατικού ναυπηγήματος, μια έννοια που αντικαθιστά το προηγούμενο πλωτό ναυπήγημα, το οποίο επίσης πλωτό ναυπήγημα ήταν μια έννοια νομοτεχνικά κακότεχνη που δημιουργούσε πάρα πολλά κενά. Η δεύτερη, επίσης, μία από τις καινοτομίες του νέου νόμου είναι το digitalization, για το οποίο μιλήσαμε. Επίσης έχουμε τη δυνατότητα ηλεκτρονικής πλέον λειτουργίας του νεολογίου και επίσης την ψηφιακή έκδοση πιστοποιητικών και εγγράφων, κάτι το οποίο ισχύει σε όλα τα σύγχρονα ναυτιλιακά κράτη. Τώρα, έχουμε επίσης μια ενιαία ρύθμιση της απλής και της προτιμόμενης υποθήκης, κάτι το οποίο επίσης αποτελούσε ένα κενό στον προηγούμενο νόμο, διότι ο προηγούμενος κίνδ ρύθμιζε μόνο την απλή υποθήκη, η απλή ναυτική υποθήκη, και η προτιμόμενη ήταν ένας νόμος ο οποίος εκδόθηκε το 1958. Αμέσως μετά την έκδοση του προισχύσαντος κίνδ ήρθε ένας νόμος να προσθέσει την προτιμόμενη ναυτική υποθήκη. Τώρα έχουμε μια ενιαία πλέον ρύθμιση. Και έρχομαι στο δεύτερο μεγάλο θεμέλιο αυτού του οικοδομήματος, που φυσικά είναι τα πρόσωπα. Από τη μια έχουμε το πλοίο, ΡΕΣ, και από την άλλη έχουμε τα πρόσωπα, τον πλειοκτήτη και τον εφοπλιστή. Βλέπουμε λοιπόν ότι ρυθμίζεται ενιαία η ευθύνη πλειοκτήτη και εφοπλιστή, και μάλιστα προστίθενται και τα ειδικά καθεστώτα ευθύνης για τη ρύπανση από πετρέλαιο και για τη ρύπανση από καύσιμα πλοίου. Και η επόμενη καινοτομία μας είναι η ρύθμιση της πλοιοδιαχείρισης. Σε μια χώρα όπου εκατοντάδες πλοία βρίσκονται υπό διαχείριση, δεν είχαμε ρητή ρύθμιση στον ελληνικό νόμο. Τώρα πλέον καθορίζεται η έννοια του διαχειριστή πλοίου και η ευθύνη του έναντι των συμβαλωμένων του, πλειοκτήτη ή εφοπλιστή, και έναντι των τρίτων. Θα ήθελα να προχωρήσω στην επόμενη τεράστια καινοτομία που φέρνει αυτός ο νόμος. Είναι η ρύθμιση της ναύλωσης και της θαλάσσιας μεταφοράς. Θα σας πω κάτι, ότι στο προηγούμενο κίνδ όλο το κεφάλαιο περί ναύλωσης είχε περιπέσει σε αχρησία για ένα λόγο. Διότι η λέξη, η έννοια, η νομική έννοια ναύλωση ήταν πολύ σήμαντη και περιελάμβανε και όλους τους τύπους ναύλωσης και τη σύμβαση θαλάσσιας μεταφοράς. Αντιλαμβάνεστε, αυτό είχε δημιουργήσει μια τεράστια σύγχυση, διότι δεν μπορούσαμε να εφαρμόζουμε όλους τους νόμους σε όλες αυτές τις συμβάσεις, και πλέον υπάρχει ρητή αναγνώριση της ναύλωσης και των υποκατηγοριών της. Time charter, bareboat charter, voyage charter, Και από την άλλη πλευρά έχουμε και μια ρύθμιση της Σύμβασης Θαλάσσιας Μεταφοράς κατά τέτοιο τρόπο ώστε αναγνωρίζεται πλήρως η εφαρμογή των αναγκαστικών κανόνων Χάγης-Βίσμπι. Ενοποίηση, όπως γράφω, της θαλάσσιας μεταφοράς με βάση το διεθνές νομικό πλαίσιο των κανόνων Χάγης-Βίσμπι. Επίσης, έχουμε ρύθμιση της Σύμβασης Μεταφοράς Επιβατών, πάλι βάση και του διεθνούς και του ευρωπαϊκού δικαίου, κάτι που επίσης ήταν ελλειπές στον προηγούμενο κώδικα. Ο περιορισμός της ευθύνης του πλειοκτήτη είναι ένα τεράστιο κεφάλαιο της ναυτικής νομοθεσίας. Εναρμονίζεται με τη Διεθνή Σύμβαση του Λονδίνου 1976 και 1996, αλλά ταυτόχρονα δημιουργήθηκε κάτι το οποίο ήταν ένα τεράστιο κενό στην ελληνική πραγματικότητα, ο δικονομικός μηχανισμός υλοποίησης αυτού του περιορισμού της ευθύνης. Επίσης, αναμορφώθηκε το τμήμα περί θαλάσσιας ασφάλισης. Η θαλάσσια ασφάλιση ήταν ένα κεφάλαιο που επίσης είχε περιπέσει σε αχρησία για τον απλούστατο λόγο ότι εφαρμόζεται πάντα το αγγλικό δίκαιο θαλάσσιας ασφάλισης, επομένως δόθηκε στον καινούριο νόμο μία πρωτοπορία και στη συμβατική ελευθερία, αλλά και στη διεθνή συναλλακτική πρακτική και χρησιμοποιήσαμε θεσμούς του αγγλικού δικαίου θαλάσσιας ασφάλισης. Θα ήθελα να σας πω ότι ήμουν μέλος της Υποεπιτροπής για τη θαλάσσια ασφάλιση, ήμουν μέλος της Υποεπιτροπής για τη διαχείριση, για την πλοιοδιαχείριση και εδώ θα τελειώσω με την παρουσίασή μου, ήμουν επικεφαλής της Υποεπιτροπής για την ναυτική εργασία. Αυτό ήταν και το μεγαλύτερο μας μέλημα. Το ευχάριστο είναι ότι στο τέλος η ποινιό μας έστειλε επιστολή όπου αποδέχεται πλήρως τους θεσμούς και του ναυτικού δικαίου αλλά και του κεφαλαίου περί ναυτικής εργασίας, στη ναυτική εργασία που έγινε πραγματικά με τεράστιο συναίσθημα ευθύνη, συναίσθηση της ευθύνης μας. Υπάρχει ένας πολύ καινοτόμος θεσμός που θα ήθελα να σας τον πω. Είναι η υποχρεωτική πλέον ασφάλιση του πλειοκτήτη για τις ευθύνες του απέναντι στο ναυτικό, και για την παλινόστηση και για τους μισθούς του, αλλά και για τις αποζημιώσεις για ατύχημα. Δεν θα σας κουράσω άλλο με τον νέο νόμο. Θέλω όμως να τελειώσω με μια εικόνα, η οποία πάλι την εμπνεύστηκα από τη συζήτησή μας. Θα πάω στον Όμηρο. Έτσι, Χίος, Όμηρος. Στην Οδύσσεια, ο Όμηρος αναφέρει ότι στην τελευταία στάση του, ο Οδυσσέας έφτασε στο νησί των Φεάκων. Το γνωρίζουμε αυτό. Το νησί λοιπόν των Φεάκων ήταν το αγαπημένο νησί του βασιλιά Ποσειδώνα και είχε μία τεράστια ναυτική άνθηση. Είχαν λοιπόν οι Φέακες, γράφει ο Όμηρος, πλοία τα οποία διέσχιζαν τη θάλασσα πάνω από τα κύματα, δεν είχαν ανθρώπους για το τιμόνι, γιατί από μόνα τους χάρασαν την πορεία τους ανάλογα και με τις συνθήκες τις καιρικές, αλλά και με τους ναυτικούς χάρτες. Σας θυμίζει αυτό? Και έτσι αυτά τα πλοία έφτασαν τον βασιλιά της Ιθάκης, τον Οδυσσέα, σε πλήρη ασφάλεια στην Ιθάκη. Έχω την πεποίθηση ότι βρισκόμαστε στη Χίο, που είναι όχι το αγαπημένο νησί του Ποσειδώνα, αλλά το αγαπημένο νησί του Θεού και του Άγιου Νικόλα. Επομένως, οι Χιώτες είμαι σίγουρη ότι θα φέρουν τέτοια πλοία, όπως ανέφερε και ο κύριος Παλιός, τέτοια πλοία και όλοι σας, τέτοια πλοία που θα έχουν την απόλυτη ασφάλεια όχι για το βασιλιά Οδυσσέα, αλλά για το βασιλιά αυτής της γης που είναι ο άνθρωπος. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Μάθαμε πολλά. This is another prime example how industry can work together with the state and with the universities to develop something that was necessary, even if it took 65 years to happen. Thank you very much. And one very interesting things that have added, a lot of modernization, the permit for digitalizing everything. And this is another project that the Hellenic Chamber of Shipping is working on, the electronic bills of lading for the ferry boat fleet. Our next speaker, everybody probably knows Costa Constantinou from Moore Stevens. He's studied economics, a chartered accountant, and he runs Moore here in Greece and is specializing in auditing and shipping for one of the big ones for shipping and also in ESG, a great supporter and assistant to the Greek shipping community. Constantinou.
Καλησπέρα σας. Μετά το χήμαρο που ήταν ο κύριος Παλιός, νομίζω ότι έτσι λίγο έχουμε μια πρόκληση τώρα να δούμε πώς θα σας κρατήσουμε το ενδιαφέρον. I'll turn in English. As Dr. Patera said, I'm an accountant, so you might think, what does an accountant have to do here in shipping? But let me tell you that everything that happens in the shipping company, everything from chartering and damages, anything will go to the accounting department to be monetized, and then accountants will need to record it for other people to see. Accounting played a crucial role in the 60s and 70s, enabling shipping companies to provide their banks, the American banks, as Mr. Palios mentioned. The American banks were a key factor of change in the shipping industry, and I will come to what has changed in my career. And because the banks wanted information that they can rely, they had to use us accountants to go into shipping companies and audit their books and make sure that what the accountant in the shipping company wrote was correct. So yes, we have a role in shipping, and I was fortunate enough to be linked with Moore Stevens, which has links with Greek shipping on all these families since the beginning of last century. Now, I started my career back in I studied in London as a trainee chartered accountant. Back in 1990, I qualified, 96, and in 96 I came back to Greece. Now, when I came back to Greece, actually in London I met quite some characters from Greek shipping companies that were in accounting departments, and probably he was on his way out, but I met an accountant who used to write books by hand, and he used to mix his own ink so that he knew that this particular color, only he had it. So he controlled what he wrote in the ledgers because he had the recipe that he used to mix so many drops of red, so many drops of blue, and and he told me, if the color here is that, I did it. I was young, and he said, that's the best control, that I don't allow anybody to touch my books. So from that accountant, I don't know whether you know him, but from that accountant, where everything was written by hand and in ink, I saw the transformation of Greek shipping into the very, very complex ERP systems that all, especially the listed companies like Diana, are using to prepare their accounts and their financial statements very, very quickly and very, very reliably. That journey, because I visit many accounting companies, and I see every accounting company on a different path of that change from the manual. So when I came to Greece, most accounting departments were using very primitive accounting systems. They were using the cash basis of accounting, recording only when something was paid. It took them at least 6 or 7 months to prepare the year-end accounts. Banks did not really push them for any deadlines. Accountants were practical people who trained on the job. They didn't know a lot about the art or the science of accounting. So there were people who were, the right-hand man of the owner. Some of them were very, bullies. So accountants back then believed that when you shout either to your taxman or to your accountant or to your lawyer or to your supplier, you get things done. It was a different mentality, and the necessity to prepare what changed, like the legal environment, the accounting environment changed. We moved from what I used to say Piraeus standards, where every accounting company used to do whatever they felt was best, to international financial reporting standards and US GAAP, where you are where you have to follow a set of rules and regulations of how you record your transactions. So this transition took at least 20 years for the old guard to retire, the new guard to come in. Where did this new guard originate? It originated from firms like us or our other fellow accounting firms. And now we are at the stage, I think, and that Piraeus and is probably the if I exclude New York, which New York has the stock exchange, probably Piraeus is one of the most advanced centers for accounting and shipping. We don't bring experts from London anymore. We don't bring experts from the States anymore to solve us our problems. So it has really changed from a very, I wouldn't say primitive, a very slow and very manual process to a very, very computerized and very, very scientific. The new accountants are trained, they are qualified, they have certifications, they have studied. So yes, Dr. Pateras, I think this is the biggest change from my perspective, because I'm an accountant. So from my perspective, I think we are now at a stage where the average shipping company is very, very, very advanced in its financial reporting requirements, and it will help it greatly to meet that ahead all the challenges that are coming in the future.
Thank you very much for that, Kostas. And we cannot deny the fact that accounting and proper accounting has really helped the development of Greek shipping over the ages. And the people who did do it right went ahead. I think we've reached a point where it's very strict and very useful, especially if you want to go public. Our next speaker is Elena Arthoussaki. She is the head of ESG, Sustainability and Climate Change at Motor Oil Group. But more importantly, she's the head of the Hellenic Chamber of Shipping project in the renewal of the ferryboat fleet. We all have our preferences. This is Arthoussaki, please.
Thank you. Okay, so I will also speak in English. As most of you know, I've been in this ESG, sustainability, climate change for the last 15 years, and I found myself to actually say that shipping actually is one of the most adaptable industries in this specific, let's say, issues when it comes to the ESG, sustainability, climate change. I remember like 15 years ago when I first, let's say, started trying to convincingly say the shipping industry, and some people here, we were having like some kind of fights or some sort of discussion around decarbonizing shipping. there was a lot of resistance. You cannot imagine. And I remember that, in some cases where I was in the panels, people were saying to me, Mr. Losaki, please, we heard you a lot. Now it's time to step down. And, but I must say that I have learned a lot during these years. And I'm very proud to actually see that the sector now that is the time to go ahead and, follow, let's say, the sort of the ESG principles, within their own procedures, it's actually ready. So when it comes, let's say, to the transformation or the adaptability, be able, let's say, for the shipping industry to adopt ESG issues within the process and procedures, it's a main issue. What I've seen, so the last years, I would say, and I must be honest with you, not the 15 years, but the last, let's say, 5 years, is that I've seen companies basically adopting more into environmental technologies, being up front in looking at the environmental standards, the new, let's say, technologies for decarbonization. Seeing, of course, IMO putting all these ambitious targets and talking now about net zero by 2050, but at the same time, of course, discussing even nuclear on ships. And that is, I think, is a great achievement. Since the last years, what I also have seen is the great adaptation to the social aspect of sustainability, which has to do with a human factor, with the community contribution, with even more towards to the employees' well-being, mental health, well-being, the training programs that the shipping companies are doing for the crew and the employees, the voluntary programs that we have seen. And at the same time, we see more and more best practice. I'm very happy that I'm coordinating with Katerina the ESG Shipping Awards, the first globally in the shipping industry, in order to showcase these best practices and how far shipping companies has actually gone over the environmental social governance. Even on the governance side, and very well said by Konstantinos, companies have all these years dramatically actually became much more transparent, not only from accounting point of view, but even from non-financial point of view. They have created processes, policies, the governance in terms of their board. Also, it's becoming very strong. And at the same time, the shipping companies are looking to diversity and equality, something that, again, many years ago, people wouldn't think about it. We see a lot of NGOs and trying to support, let's say, the youth experience and the youth education and the shipping industry. So all this type of practices on the ESG side is something that for the last years, they have taken, a great effort for some people that they really believe on this, because all these best practices are because of people. And there are some individuals here that have started this journey, as I did many, many years ago, and which I admire a lot. And sometimes I remember people that would just think of us like stereotypes or, talking about something which is very romantic. But now it's very nice to actually see that those are the discussion topics, the headlines, I would say, okay, for the shipping industry, sustainability and climate change. So this is what I have seen all these years changing. Thank you.